Ooh. I don't remember exactly where we left off. Let me have a look-see. Hey Bea, how's it going? Aha, I see. Oh, okay. I remember now. Okay. The exchange between Kanon and Genji. Got it. Let's go. The darkness of night that now surrounded Rokkenjima was ruled not by the Ushiromiya family, but by another master. Ooh. Did this master take pity on Maria when she was alone and pummeled by the rain in the rose garden, and lend her an umbrella? Hey Zekuto, how's it going? Karan looked at the rose garden's lights, dimly visible beyond the window. The dim lights were not enough to illuminate the surrounding area. Looking at those lights felt like making eye contact with the witch, and Kanon forcibly averted his gaze. Hey Chidori! You all three have become my regulars now, you're always there. No, Nezu can be seen today. No, today Nezu cannot be seen. I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna have these days sometimes. I promise I'm doing my best to, you know, not make it too often, but sometimes, you know, I just feel like being cozy in the dark in my pajamas with my hair all a mess, reading and not having to show my face to the world. So let's get cozy together. Okay. Without love, Nezu can't be seen. I have love and I cannot be seen at the same time, and it's not a paradox. It's just today my resources of energy and of putting myself out in the world have been drained. So I'm recharging. Okay. When someone reads Umineko, Zeku is always there. I mean, I can't imagine that he's been there for all the possible readings and plays of Umineko. But I appreciate all of yours, your presences for these streams. It's really nice to spend these couple of hours together. Okay. So if he didn't, it felt like his eyes would be absorbed by that light. Perhaps the weather was also a factor. You often hear stories about how things like atmospheric pressure can influence people's moods and physical health. For some time now, everyone had been making periodic attempts to clear the gloomy atmosphere. But any conversation was quickly cut off, and in the end, the dining hall was simply buried by the sound of the rain. Dessert was some kind of chocolate cake accompanied by pear sherbet. Okay. Aww. Umineko is his last connection with the non-Genshin world. Oh, I hope I'm an alright listening experience. And obviously that makes sense. Not everyone is everyone else's cup of tea. So that's perfectly valid. Is there maybe some learning to be gained from that? Are there like pitfalls that I shouldn't fall into? Do you have any tips? I'm open ear. Well, yeah. Open eyes because I'm reading the text, but you know what I mean. Aww. 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 I appreciate that. Goda-san enthusiastically explained the recipe as if delivering the coup de grace, but I quickly forgot the details. The guest of honor, grandfather, was absent. The weather was horrible, and the person who had lent Maria the umbrella was still a mystery. When dinner ended, no one felt even one bit refreshed. It was too late now, but I realized painfully that taste wasn't the only important part of a meal. The whole atmosphere was also critical. Yes, very much. Guys used in an extremely liberal sense. That's perfectly fine. Don't worry. I get it. I don't mind being called guys. It's fine. Gora-san, the supposed conductor of this performance called Dinner, did his best to enliven the place, dropping little jokes left and right, but it seemed they didn't quite get there. After taking orders for after-dinner coffee, tea, and orange juice, he left for the kitchen. As soon as he disappeared, Uncle Kraus spoke.
やれやれ。せっかくゴーダが腕を振るってくれた晩餐も、こうも沈み込んでしまっては実に味気ないというものだ。
まったくね。
Oh, he recommended little busters to you. Oh, that's so sweet. Nice.
今日は何を食べても美味しく感じられない、そういう気分よ。
ほう。どうしてそういう気分なのか聞きたいね。
I mean, that's a little bit entitled, seeing as you are dining on the finest foods with the finest and most refined and most taken care of ingredients ever. Like, come on. I don't like Goda, but he definitely knows what he's doing, and his food should be delicious, so it's a little bit...
心が晴れ晴れできるよう、兄として後で協力させてもらうよ。
Auntie Eva grimaced slightly. I had already heard that she was not on good terms with Uncle Kraus, but now I could clearly feel it. When I looked around, I noticed that my dad and Auntie Rosa were also grimacing. Anyhow, it looked like there was something besides the weather that was troubling all of them. You think? I think the weather's the least... Yeah, the weather is the least of their concerns. No.
そう?私はそうは思いませんよ。
I asked Aunt Natsuhi, who was sitting on my right, but it looked like she was also in a bad mood. She snapped back as though she was absolutely not interested. Kyosuke's a fucking Jesus. I still can't get over the symbolism. I love Kyosuke.
まあ、ちょいと大人な話で込み入ってな。
My heart flutters for Kyosuke. I react with all of the hearts to the fan art that Bear posts, especially the super handsome, super Kyosuke-like vibe pictures. I'm there for them. All of them. I'm like, hello. Takes me into this dreamy kind of state.
バトラ君たち子供は気にせんでええ話や。はははは。なあ、夏日さん、キリエさん。
Uncle Hideyoshi laughed as he spoke, but without his usual brightness, so I could vaguely imagine just how complicated their adult conversation had actually become. You don't know the beginning of it, Battler-kun. On top of that, even Aunt Natsuhi and Kirie-san, the people he had directed his comment to, ignored him as though they hadn't heard anything. I didn't know what kind of conversation they had been having while we kids were away, but it reminded me of how Dad had said he had stomach cramps when we had arrived at the mansion. The family conference might have been a playful reunion to us kids, but it was definitely different for the adults. After Uncle Hideyoshi was ignored by the other adults, an awkward silence fell over the room. Kirie-san spoke up.
子供たちの進路はどうなるのかしらとか、そういう話よ。バトラ君は将来はどうするの?
Yeah, that's definitely what you were talking about.
ぼんやりと大学進学? そんなのじゃ長い人生レースのスタートラインとしては心細いわよ。
あいたたたたたた。キリエさん、飯の最中にそんな話されちまったら、消化不良で便秘になっちまうぜ。
そうやそうや。バトラ君やジェシカちゃんの進路の話をしとったんや。将来のことは真剣に考えんとあかんで。
Hideyoshi heartily agreed, as if they really had been talking about that, but they probably hadn't. Kirie-san had obviously been trying to avoid talking about something. However, if Kirie-san had determined that this was the best course of action for now, then she was probably right. Taking this into account, I decided to cast aside my suspicions as to the cause behind Auntie Eva and Dad's bad moods. At long last, the serving cart returned filled with coffee and tea. I also have tea. I didn't find the prune tea, guys. I really looked for it there. I did. The supermarket I go to every weekend has like a whole aisle dedicated to teas. There was not a single prune tea inside. But I did find something very interesting and looked elegant enough to me. It's white peony tea with rose petals. And I tried it, and it's really good. And so I made myself a mug of that. So I'll be sipping that over the course of the next, I don't know, let's say 40 minutes. It's still a little bit hot, so something like that. Kumasawa-san and Shannon-chan served it to everyone. Gora-san then explained that with this, tonight's dinner was over. If I had been able to eat in a more cheerful mood, it might have been the best dinner of my life. It was a shame that this greatest of dinners couldn't have been had under the greatest of conditions. Just add prunes or something. Yeah. I had no supplies. I was hoping to actually find the tea, but I will look for more.
ジョージお兄ちゃん、これでご飯は終わり？終わり？
これでおしまいだよ。
That's okay. It's also not prune or plum season right now. It's other fruit that are in season and you can find them in the supermarket. But I'll investigate.
はしてないわよ。お席について、落ち着いてジュースを飲みなさい。
Maria looked like she was really excited about the occasionally crashing thunder. Maybe she wanted to quickly finish eating and run over to the window. Prepare some mint in summer to put into the tea later. Ooh, that's interesting. Black tea plus lemon plus mint. I don't think I've ever tried that combo for black tea. That sounds interesting. Thanks for the suggestion. Mint with black tea. No, I have not done that. Okay, maybe she wanted to quickly finish eating and run over to the window. She had been fidgeting for a while, waiting for the meal to end. Some people are afraid of thunder, while others find it interesting. And Maria was apparently one of the latter. That's cute. So, when she heard from Georgia Nikki that dinner was over, a huge smile broke across her face. Makes tea more refreshing, especially when it's hot outside. Yeah, makes perfect sense. She then stood from her seat, took out her handbag, which she had set under her seat, never having left it even while she was eating, and began fishing around inside of it. Is she gonna return the umbrella to Beatrice? I'm curious. No one seemed particularly concerned with this behavior.
なんだい？それどこから持ってきたの？
George was the first to notice it. As he spoke, Battler was also noticed. What? Oh, there's more. That's such a cool envelope. When they looked, they noticed that Maria was now holding a beautiful Western-style envelope. On the front of the envelope, the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, was done in gold leaf. Furthermore, it was sealed with a dark red wax, imbuing a level of class upon it that made it clear that this was not something that Maria should be carrying around for fun.
マリアちゃん、それは何？
It seemed that Natsuhi had also noticed the strangeness of the envelope that Maria was holding. Ooh, the mystery thickens. Because her voice sounded too serious to be admonishing a small child, the other relatives around her finally noticed.
どうしたよ、夏日姉さん。
それ、何？マリア、あなた、それをどこで拾ったの？
その封筒は金蔵さんの。
As Nanjo muttered that, even us kids could understand why everyone seemed to be frozen solid. The envelope that Maria held was one of the Ushiromiya family head's custom-made envelopes for private use. In other words, it could only mean one thing. This envelope contained a message from Kinzo.
ほう。どうしてそんな封筒がここにあるんだね。
こいつは面白いもんが飛び出してくるぜ。
ちょいとわしに見せてみ。
ダメ、マリアが読むの。
It's her envelope. I mean,
マリアがみんなに読んで聞かせなさいって言われたの。
Uncle Hideyoshi tried to snatch the envelope out from Maria's hands, but she protected it as though hugging it and didn't let go. Good.
秀吉兄さん、子供相手に近づくなんていけませんよ。
Thank you, Kitty, the voice of reason.
マリアちゃん、その封筒はどうしたの？
傘を貸してくれた時にベアトリーチェにもらった。
Of course she did.
ご飯が終わったらマリアがみんなに読んで聞かせろって言われた。
Oh god, I wanna
マ
know.
リアは魔女のメッセンジャーなの。
メッセンジャーこの島の魔女様は随分と洒落てるじゃねえかよ。
Battler tried to joke about it, but no one went along with him.
それで中には何て書いてあるのかしら、マリアちゃん。
Maria casually opened the envelope. It was sealed only with wax, so she just had to remove the sealing wax to open it. The sealing wax fell onto the desk. Hideyoshi hastily picked it up and stared fixedly at it. He then set it in the center of the table where Natsuhi, Kirie, and Nanjo glared at it. Imprinted there in the sealing wax was the one-winged eagle, which was the Ushiromiya family crest and also Kinzo's personal crest.
これは当主様の紋章？
私は金蔵さんに手紙をもらったことがあるからわかる。これは間違いなく金蔵さんの風浪だ。
でもこのお屋敷にはそれと同じ紋章がいくつもあるのでは？例えば風浪用のハンコのようなものがあれば金蔵さんでなくても風浪はできるのでは？
いや、金蔵さんは風浪には必ず自分が指にしている後宮家当主の証の指輪で刻印をする。この形や複雑な衣装は間違いなく金蔵さんの風浪だ。そうとは限らんよ。親族であれば一度くらいは親父の手紙を受け取ったことはあるはずだ。その風浪をもとに偽の紋章を作り、親父殿を語って刻印した可能性が否めない。
兄貴に同感だ。
Man, they're really denying you, aren't they? They really don't want you to exist.
風浪に刻印されている紋章がどれだけ親父のものに酷似していたとしても間違いなく親父のものであるとは証明不能だぜ。だからその封筒が親父のものであるという証拠にはならない。
私も全く同じよ。風浪の刻印だけでお父様の手紙だなんて決めつけることには同意できないわ。
How about you just listen to what is written and then decide if you want to pay any attention to it or not? It's so easy. Like, just stop stressing out. These people are so stressed out.
南條先生、曖昧な言葉は慎んでいただけるかしら。
これは失礼。
Now she's picking on Nanjo.
出過ぎた口でしたな。
One after another, all of the siblings from Kraus on downwards rejected Nanjo's statement, saying that the envelope that Maria was holding had not necessarily been sent by Kinzo. They were afraid. Kinzo's intentions were written in there, and they feared from the bottoms of their hearts that it might be some decidedly unfavorable announcement regarding the inheritance. Of course, because that's the only thing that they could ever possibly think about.
マリア、その封筒は傘を貸してくれた人がくれたのね。じゃわからないでしょ。そうなの？
つまり魔女。 ベアトリーチェが傘と一緒にマリアちゃんにその封筒を？
Maria nodded forcefully.
主人に私も同感です。得体の知れない何者かが手渡した怪文書です。読むにも値しません。
You're so afraid of it. Man.
せめて読むくらいいいじゃねえか。
Yeah, just read it. And if it's bullshit, just ignore it. Aren't you all adults? And what the heck? Battler said it to Jessica in a small voice, pretending to stir things up, but Natsuhi heard him clearly and glared at him with threatening eyes.
それでマリアは、ベアトリーチェに、食事が終わったら読めって言われたんだな。
いいじゃないの皆さん。これはおじい様の封筒ではなく、ベアトリーチェの封筒。誰が書いたのかはともかく、中身を聞いてからの判断でもいいんじゃないかしら。
Thank you, Kiria, the voice of reason once again.
そうやな。お父さんが書いたとは限らんが、中身が気になるんは事実や。マリアちゃん、さっきは無理やり取ろうとしてすまんかった。
Aw, that's a point for Hideyoshi. At least he's apologizing to the girl. Good job.
謝るから、みんなの前でそれ読み上げてくれんか。
Kiria, best girl. I mean, yeah, in a way, so far she's been the most palatable of the of the adult characters. I love how in control Kraus is and how unreasonable Natsuhi is in episode 1. I don't know if Kraus is necessarily actually in control. He's like doing his best to not slip out of control. I feel like he's like right on the verge of it and he's constantly reaching, but maybe that's just my impression. What do I know? I feel like absolutely every single one of them is struggling with something and is trying to not let, like, to put on a poker face and not let their weakness come through, but they all have one. All of them, without exception.
Maria.
Yes, he did do that last time. Absolute thumbs up to him for that. But he did that by putting in a lot of effort and a lot of forethought into it. Because he wouldn't have been so put together without preparation in advance. And he probably did that because, again, he is in my head. I don't know. I guess that's how I perceive him, and I might be wrong because it's just the beginning still. But I feel like he has this thing that he cannot be out of control. He must know everything, and he must be in control, and he must be like the oldest and like dominate and like have everything in his hands that he can pull in one direction or another, and nothing must ever be a surprise or catch him off guard or anything. But then, again, might just be my impression.
読みなさい。
Let's read that, please. I'm curious as heck. As all of the relatives stared fiercely at Maria, she spread the letter open with a rustle.
本当に親父の手紙だと思うか？
ありえんね。親父殿が私たちに何かを発表するときは、直接でなければいつだって源氏さんを通してじゃないか。このようなこじゃれた方法でするとは思えんね。
Why is this a joke? Because Maria is a kid? Is that it?
そうよ。マリアをメッセンジャーに？それこそお父様の趣味じゃないわよ。ローザ、これはマリアちゃんが私たちを脅かそうという何かの隠し芸なんでしょ？
マリアはそんな気の利いたことができる子じゃないわ。
I mean, the way she phrased that, I don't know if it's the actual sentence that she said or it's just the translation, but Maria is not capable of something so clever. That sounds so out of place and so bad. You could say that she's probably a very, straightforward, honest kind of kid who it wouldn't be in her character to plot something this complicated and hide it and just to show it now. Like, she just wouldn't do that. Worst parent competition is fierce in this family. Unfortunately, it seems so. The words came out of Maria's mouth, but for some reason it felt like her voice was different than usual. Everyone went suddenly silent.
六軒島へようこそ、後宮家の皆様方。私は金蔵様にお仕えしております、当家顧問錬金術師のベアトリーチェと申します。
そんなアホな。
黙って。
長年にわたりご契約に従いお仕えしてまいりましたが、本日金蔵様よりその契約の終了を宣告されました。よって本日をもちまして当家顧問錬金術師のお役目を終了させていただきますことをどうかご了承くださいませ。
くだらん。ざれ言だ。
聞くに耐えません。
さてここで皆様に契約の一部をご説明しなければなりません。
Oh my god.
私ベアトリーチェは金蔵様にある条件とともに莫大な黄金の貸与をいたしました。
It's her theme song. I love it. I love it. They went from casual abuse straight to the competitive scene. Oh man. They sure did.
その条件とは契約終了時に黄金のすべてを返還すること。そして利息として後宮家のすべてを頂戴できるというものです。
むちゃくちゃや。
初めっからむちゃくちゃだぜ。
要するにあれだろ、よくある悪魔の契約みたいなやつなんだろ。
Isn't this track called Fishy Aroma or something? I think it said earlier when the song started, but I didn't catch it. Ah.
ほんで、契約がおしまいってことになるから、利子を回収に来たってわけだ。いいんや？長年の退職金のつもりかな。ちゃっかりした魔女だぜ。
バトラ君、今は茶化さない方がいい。
I think it's the perfect moment to joke about why is everyone so serious? Oh my god. Battler made a face as if to ask, if I can't make fun of this, what can I make fun of? He's right, I'm with him. At the same time, some of the adults' faces were pale while others looked completely shocked.
これだけをお聞きならば、皆様は金蔵様のことをなんと無慈悲なのかとお嘆きにもなられるでしょう。しかし金蔵様は皆様に富と名誉を残す機会を設けるため特別な条項を追加されました。その条項が満たされた時に限り私は黄金と利子を回収する権利を永遠に失います。
特別な条項？
それは何よ。
They have to solve the riddle.
特別条項。契約終了時にベアトリーチェは黄金と利子を回収する権利を持つ。ただし隠された契約の黄金を暴いた者が現れた時、ベアトリーチェはこの権利を全て永遠に放棄しなければならない。利子の回収はこれより行いますが、もし皆様のうちの誰か一人でも特別条項を満たせたなら、すでに回収した分も含めて全てお返しいたします。なお回収の手始めとしてすでに後宮本家の家督を受け継いだことを示す後宮家当主の指輪をお預かりさせていただきました。封印のろうそくにてそれをどうかご確認くださいませ。
これがそうだというのか。親父が指輪を手放すなどありえん。
For Beatrice, I think he would relinquish everything. He just wants to see her smile one more time. But I guess they haven't heard that. Well, no, Kraus should have heard him scream, right? Because he was like constantly trying to get to him and stuff. But I don't know if he actually was present behind the door when he was screaming for Beatrice. But yeah, anyway. Kraus was staring at the ceiling wax as though he was trying to burn a hole through it. Eva and Rudolph were doing the same over his shoulder.
確かにチェスの時金蔵さんの指に何か足りんような違和感は感じ取りました。
南條先生、
Oh god, please leave him
お
alone.
ぼろげな記憶でいい加減なことを言わないように。
Stop
その
bullying
心眼を
Nanjo
ここでは
sensei.
測れないわ。本当に指輪をお父様は確かに手渡したのか、この手紙が本当の話かどうかはお父様に直接確認すればいいだけの話じゃない。
そうね。桐江さんの言う通りだわ。
果たして金蔵さんがそれを答えてくれますかな。あの人のお考えは時に人の世の常識では測りかねますからな。
どのみちざれ言の息を出んね。第一、黄金幻想自体が親父殿のまやかしだ。ありもしない黄金の話を始めるのはお前たちだけで十分だ。
でも魔女様はおっしゃってるわよ。黄金を見つけた者に家督と全ての財産を引き渡すってね。つまりベアトリーチェ様はお父様の顧問弁護士もしくは金庫番でもあられるってことじゃないのかしら。
Do I remember how Kinzo threw the ring out the window? At this moment, no. I'm sorry, memory's not coming back. I'll think about it.
このような怪しげな文章を子供に託すような怪人物を信用することなどできません。
兄貴、腹を割ってもらうぜ。兄貴の知らない人物が親父の財産管理をしてるようなことはあり得るのか。
いや、それはない。私は当主代行として親父殿の全ての財産を把握している。私に知られずにそれらを自由にできる人間はいないはずだ。
じゃあつまりクラウス兄さんの把握していない財産ってことじゃないの？
バカな、そんなものあるわけがない。
あるわよ。
And the lightning accepted it. Uh-huh, okay. Something vague is coming back. I apologize that I don't remember all of these details. Like, everything is so new, everything is detailed. So, yeah, my mind registers what it wants and sets aside also what it wants.
兄さんが把握していないお父様の資産。そんなものあるわけがありません。
いや、あるで。それがお父さんの、いやベアトリーチェの隠し黄金や。
話を整頓しよう。つまり親父には兄貴も知らない腹心がいた。そしてそいつはずっと黄金の番と運用を任されてきたわけだ。あるいは悪魔の契約まがいのルールで融資した神塚の大富豪か。
その腹心のベアトリーチェさんは自分の黄金を融資する相手として息子兄弟の誰がふさわしいか試したいということなのかしら。
What Kiria said was something that all the siblings wanted clarified. Upon reflection, they realized that during the time Kinzo's strange epitaph had been displayed in the hall beneath the portrait of the witch, they had always whispered that the one who solved the puzzle would receive everything. Yet no one had ever clearly stated it. It was just something that everyone had hoped might be true. That had, right here, right now, been clearly expressed by Beatrice's letter. Aha! It clearly specified that everything of the Ushiromiya family would be given to the one who found the gold.
黄金の隠し場所については、すでに金蔵様が私の肖像画の下に碑文にて公示されております。条件は、碑文を読むことができるものすべてに公平に。黄金を暴けたなら、私はすべてをお返しするでしょう。
Interesting way of phrasing it to all who can read the epitaph. Or is it maybe a translation thing?
それではどうか今宵を、金蔵様との知恵比べにて、存分にお楽しみくださいませ。今宵が知的かつ優雅な夜になるよう、心よりお祈りいたしております。黄金のベアトリーチ
お父さん、聞こえているはずです。 返事をしてください。
The door to Kinzo's study was being violently beaten against over and over again like a percussion instrument. The screams coming from the other side were Krause's, Rudolph's, and sometimes Eva's voices. It was the siblings who were trying to intrude upon Kinzo's study to question him about the truth behind that mysterious letter. Kinzo was eating. An elegant tablecloth was set over the desk, and the fabulous dinner that had collared the table down in the dining hall was once again laid out. Kinzo continued his meal in silence. Shannon, taking away an empty plate, looked uncomfortably between the door being beaten on and Kinzo's face.
皆さんがお呼びですが、いかがいたしますか？
捨ておけ。神と我が晩餐は沈黙を尊ぶ。
I mean, if you don't tell them anything, they're gonna keep banging.
黙らせますか。
Oh, I wonder what he means by that.
必要ない。我が耳には届いておらぬ。
Kinzo coolly tasted his food. Genji quietly lowered his head and took a single step back. As he did, Kanon, who stood in reserve like a shadow behind and to the side of Genji, opened his mouth.
マリア様がベアトリーチェ様より手紙を受け取られたとのことで、その真偽を確かめたいのでしょう。
Man, Kanon knows everything. Nothing budges that he does not know. If I was Kinzo by this moment, I'd already left for the Bahamas with Genji and was drinking one of those cocktails with small umbrella in it while getting suntan. But no, he has to see Beatrice. Of course he does.
あやつめ、早速始めおったか。さあ、ベアトリーチェ。かけるコインに不足はあるまい。存分に今宵を楽しもうではないか。負ける気はないぞ。お前の微笑みは永遠に私のものだ。もう一度見られるなら、富も名誉も我が命すらも惜しくはない。さて、ルーレットは回り始めた。ボールはどのポケットに落ちるのか。ノワールか、ルージュか、それとも親の総取りか。さあ始めるがいい、ベアトリーチェ。私が再びお前に奇跡の力というものを見せてやる。
Sim's got a simp. Oh, good one, Bear. Ay, 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 ay. The strange letter that the witch had entrusted Maria with had wiped all memories of dinner from our minds. Maria had been repeatedly barraged with questions by Auntie Rosa and the other parents, and was now in the worst of tempers because no one would believe her. Poor kid. Even when we kids tried to talk to her, she would just ignore us. Our parents were all stirred up over the gold, firing back and forth about the distribution of the assets and completely forgetting that with children we were even there. I was about to say, now they have no problem talking about it openly in front of the kids, but earlier it was like, oh no, we were just talking about your futures. Even though I'd already figured that they had been talking about this in the shadows, I never thought they'd be this blunt about it, and at least to us kids, it was a considerable shock. This shows, just like what I was saying earlier, their absolute lack of control and their obsession with not losing it and just being on the brink of like, we want to know everything, we want to, plan and have everything under our own noses so that nothing can surprise us and everything goes the way we want it to go. Well, they don't have as much influence as they thought they had, it seems. And that freaks them out. From what we could overhear, all of our parents wanted as much money as possible as soon as possible. Back and forth about grandfather's inheritance. Back and forth about the distribution of the gold if it was found. About advance payments and cash. It was so despicable I couldn't bear to watch, even though one of them was my dad. It looked like Jessica felt the same way. We left our seats, although no one had asked us to leave. I went to hang out somewhere apart from the parents.
なるほどな。じいさまが飯の席にも顔を出したくない理由がよーくわかったよ。うちの親たちにはすっかり幻滅だぜ。金だの遺産だの。よくもまああそこまで大っぴらに。
俺の場合はクソ親父に幻滅しきってるからよ。これ以上評価の下がりようがないぜ。に
そんなの私だって同じだぜ。しかし今夜のには呆れたぜ。心底呆れたぜ。
Jessica looked down at the floor, irritated. She was always talking about how bad her parents were, but maybe she hadn't really felt that way deep inside. I could realize that from the depths of Jessica's shock.
未成年の君たちはご両親に養育してもらってるからわからないだろうけど、お金を得るというのは単純な綺麗事じゃないよ。未成年である今にそれを理解しろとは言わない。でもご両親なりに何かの努力をしていることだけは認めてあげてほしいな。
やれやれ。ジョージの兄貴は人間ができてるぜ。
ジョージ兄さんは社会人になってバリバリ働いてるけどよ。金とか財産とかそういう話になったらうちの親父たちみたいに強欲むき出しのハゲタカになれるってのかよ。
自分だけの話だったらそんなことはしたくないよ。でも家族や社員、部下やその家族の生活を背負ったら戦わなければならない時もあるかもしれない。
Well, I would say if your employees, subordinates, and families are counting on you, don't put them in a risky situation to begin with. How about that?
私はそんな戦い嫌だぜ。小さまの遺産がどうのこうのなんて話、ヘドが出るぜ。
Jessica pretended to spit violently. That harsh reaction made the depths of her pain very clear.
もうこの話はやめようぜ。じいさまの隠し黄金がどうのこうの、財産だ遺産だって話は親たちの問題で俺たちの問題じゃないさ。
僕も同感だよ。せめて気を利かせて親たちの話し合いを邪魔しないのが子供の務めだと思うね。
なんだか面白くねえぜ。
Everyone knows the phrase adults are filthy, but we had now seen that for ourselves, and that really did give us a shock. George Aniki was now pretty much an adult, and I had already been disillusioned with my dad in the first place, so the shock wasn't that big for us. But it looked like it was different for Jessica. It looked like the shock that Jessica had received was even bigger than I had thought. This girl, she was always talking badly about her parents, but it looked like she hadn't changed at all on the inside since long ago. Even now, she was still a pure-hearted and delicate person who couldn't doubt others. I'm sure she respected her parents as much as anyone else does. And then her parents started joining in with all the other parents right in front of us children, going money, money, inheritance, inheritance, my money. So it was no surprise that the shock of hearing that was so big.
ジェシカちゃん、どうかお父さんとお母さんのことを嫌いにならないで。理解しろとまでは言わないから、せめてどうか嫌いにならないであげて。
わかってるよ。少し放っておいてくれよ。
6 years ago, I would have further taunted the dejected Jessica. But even I have grown up over the past 6 years. I realized that it would be better to leave Jessica as she was right now. Jessica suddenly looked away sulkily and left the parlor. She probably wanted to be left alone for now. I could do nothing but wordlessly watch her back as she left.
そういえば、マリアちゃんはどこに行ったんだろう。
多分、まだ肖像画の前でいじけてるんだろうぜ。
Maria, who truly looked up to witches, had expected that coming in direct contact with Beatrice and receiving the letter as proof would be an event that would surprise everyone and make them happy. However, the adults had doubted its authenticity, had not taken Maria's story at face value, and had thoroughly bombarded her with questions. Even I didn't find it hard to imagine how much that must have hurt Maria. We couldn't speak to either Maria or Jessica. In the end, George, Aniki, and I just abandoned ourselves to the sound of the falling rain in the dark night.
台風はどんな感じなんだろうね。ニュースをやってないかな。
George Aniki walked over to the corner of the parlor where the television was. He hadn't called me over, and I really couldn't have cared less where the typhoon was on the sea now. So I didn't go over to the television, but instead loitered around the window.
そんなに風は出てなさそうだけど、海の上はひどいのかしらね。天気予報では暴風警報も聞いてたんだけど。
キリエさんか。大人たちの積もる話はどんな感じなんすか？
It looked like she caught the sarcasm. Kirie-san shrugged.
この胃の痛くなる話は徹夜で続くのかしら。
This girl alert!
嫌になるわ。
まあ、せいぜいよろしく。じい様の財産分配について、ハゲタカごっこをお楽しみくださいってんだ。最低の気分だぜ。
それに関しては同感よ。バトラ君みたいに席が外せるなら、私もそうしたいわ。でもそうもいかない。たとえ発言権がなくてもね。パートナーも大変よ。
Kirie-san sighed, smiling bitterly. Well, yeah. They probably won't let Kirie-san, who married into the family, speak. Still, as Dad's partner, she has no choice but to stay by his side and support him. Being in the line of fire, she must be having to bear far greater mental pressure than me. I wasn't going to apologize, but realizing that I had spoken too harshly, I cut the sarcasm for the time being.
どんな感じなんすか？相変わらず、謎の魔女ベアトリーチェの話題で持ちきりですか？
まあね。あの人たちは、おじい様が亡くなった時の遺産分配について、兄弟4人で話をまとめようと、ずっと密約を重ねてきた。そこへ未知の5人目が現れて、話をややこしくしようっていうんだから、穏便な話のわけもないわ。
Yeah. Add something that they had not planned for and everyone loses their minds. There it is.
互いを罵り合ったり、かと思えば共闘しようってことになったり。夏日姉さんでなくても頭痛がしてくるところよ。
On the one hand, they all wanted a larger portion than the other siblings, so they were all rivals. But on the other hand, they didn't want 1 yen to be snatched up by anyone other than the siblings, so they were all also allies. I couldn't get her to tell me the details, but they were apparently arguing on and on about their ceasefire agreement and rules to prevent anyone from getting ahead. The situations under which their portions would be protected, and what legal measures would be taken in a worst-case scenario. By this point, my emotions had shot straight past disgust, and now I perceived them as a force to be reckoned with.
ってことは、さあ、ベアトリーチェはじい様からの資格ってとこですかね。自分抜きで遺産の分配なんて話を勝手に進めてた息子たちに、一泡吹かせたかったんだろうぜ。
何者かしらね、ベアトリーチェって。自称してることが全て本当なら、今日まで誰にも知られずにいた謎の人物で、しかもおじい様の隠し黄金の存在を知っていて。
I like that I don't know if this is necessarily a reference or maybe again a detail that I forgot, but I like that she said she used to be the alchemist. It kind of like sends me back to the, like, you know, the philosopher's stone that you can turn anything to gold and so on, and then with the hidden gold and everything, it kind of like makes for, in a way, an interesting metaphor.
その上、当主の指輪まで委ねられている。相当に信頼された人物ね。
さすがにほうきにまたがった魔女だとは思わないっすけど、でも魔女と呼ぶに値する怪人物であることは間違いないっすね。
マリアちゃんがそのあたりのことを詳しく話してくれればいいのだけど、みんな小さい子にがっつきすぎだわ。すっかり怯えてしまって、聞けるものも聞けなくなってしまった。
Some bunch of adults over here. Look at them.
あの人たち、北風と太陽とか読んだことないのかしら。
確かなのは、マリアがベアトリーチェと名乗る人物から手紙を受け取ったこと。 自分で現れて直接話せばいいものを、手紙を託して今もどこかに身を潜めているっていう、シャイな怪人物ですけどね。
Yeah, but like that would ruin the whole mystery. It's so much more interesting to see everybody squirm just at the thought of it. It's a completely different experience than actually having her there.
ねえ、バトラ君。ベアトリーチェなんて人物が本当にいると思う？
さあ、あくまでも偽名じゃないっすかね。じい様の代理人として、その妄想の中の魔女の名を名乗ることを許された。
そうじゃなくて。今この六軒島には全部で18人いるの。19人目が存在すると思う？
Are there really a whole 18 people on this island? Wondering about that, I began counting on my fingers, and it really did come out to 18 people.
19人目が存在すると思うって。どういう意味ですか？
言葉通りの意味よ。マリアちゃんに傘を貸した人物は私たち18人の中にはいないらしい。なら19人目がいて、その人物がマリアちゃんに傘を貸したと思うのが妥当じゃない？
そうなりますね。
ならその人物は今どこにいるの？少なくとも雨が降り出した瞬間には島にいた。そしてその後はどんどん天気は悪化して、とても船なんか出せない状態。となれば、その人物はまだ島の中にいて、どこかで雨宿りをしていなくてはならない。私たち誰の目にも触れずね。
確かに。俺たちは屋敷やゲストハウスの中を勝手にうろつき回ってましたが、誰も19人目なんかには会ってないわけですよね。でもまあ、これだけの広さのある島ですし、屋敷やゲストハウス以外に雨宿りできるところだってあるのかも。
At about this time, I began to realize what direction Kiryu-san's doubts were taking us in. Kiryu-san was denying that a 19th person existed. Beatrice was one of us 18. In other words, she thought that someone we knew well was using her name.
ベアトリーチェが自称する通りなら、その人物は間違いなく最高の賓客よ。おじい様が信頼する最高の腹心。そんな人物をおじい様が歓待しないわけがない。お屋敷に迎え入れないわけはないのよ。でも、私たちは誰も見ていない。
待ってくださいよ。それはちょいと請求な推理じゃないですか？確かに。誰の目にも触れてはいないけれど。だからって19人目を否定することにはならないんじゃないですか？何かの理由があって、こっそり上陸してずっと隠れているのかも。悪魔の証明ってやつっすよ。いることを証明するのはたやすい。ベアトリーチェってやつが俺たちの前に現れて挨拶すりゃ解決する。でも、19人目がいないことを証明するのは不可能っすよ。
Basically, you cannot prove a negative.
バトラ君の推理の仕方は悪くないわ。現在の状況では、19人目の存在を認めるにも、否定するにも情報が足りない。でもね、チェス盤をひっくり返して考えると、ほぼ19人目はありえないって断言できちゃうのよ。
Flip over the chessboard was one of Kiryu's-san's favorite phrases. I had also been influenced by those words and used them myself from time to time. When you get stuck trying to find a move in chess or shogi, by flipping the board over and looking at everything from your opponent's standpoint, you can often see a strategy that would give you the upper hand. Derived from this, it means to think by putting yourself in your opponent's shoes.
いい？仮に19人目の人物として、ベアトリーチェが実在したとして、その人物は誰にも知られることなく、こっそりとこの島に上陸し、ずっと隠れていた。何かの理由があってね。なら、どうしてわざわざ姿を現して、マリアちゃんに手紙を渡したの？
It really was a contradiction. If they had some reason for hiding themselves, then they should have stayed hidden the whole time, but they had appeared openly in front of Maria.
それは、ほら、マリアも言ってた。メッセンジャーにされたって言ってたじゃないですか。マリアが一番年下で素直そうだったからじゃ。
メッセンジャーなんて必要なの？手紙を親族会議の席上に送りたかったら、郵送すればいいだけの話よ。4人の兄弟全員に郵送すれば、黙殺することもできない。手紙を持参して、こっそり手渡す理由がないのよ。
確かに、なんだかおかしな話っすね。
そもそも、ベアトリーチェが存在していて、その存在をアピールしたいなら、みんなの前に堂々と姿を現せばいいだけの話。なのに現れず、マリアちゃんという小さな子を通して、おぼろげな輪郭だけでその存在を主張しようとする曖昧さ。
Yeah, because what fun would that have been?
矛盾。もっと考えて。マリアちゃんの前に姿を現し、19人目の存在を印象づけるという点と、にもかかわらず、今この瞬間も私たちの前に姿を現さず隠れ続けている点。これらの矛盾。これを念頭に置いた上でチェス盤をひっくり返すの。つまり、19人目の人物としてベアトリーチェがいると印象づけたい人物の目論見は何かよ。
姿を隠したい人物なら、その存在をアピールするわけがない。そして、姿を現したい人物なら、手紙を託すなんて遠回しをするわけがない。ってことは。
簡単よ。ベアトリーチェは18人の中にいるのよ。だからこそ、18人以外の人物が存在するような幻想を作り出しているのよ。これ見よがしな19人目のアピール。それで得をするのは、姿を潜めた19人目じゃない。すでにいる18人の方なのよ。もちろん、この推理は穴だらけ。いくつかの前提がひっくり返るだけですぐに崩れる脆いものだけど、私はほぼ間違いないと見てるわ。
This was quickly starting to sound pretty creepy. Who had lent Maria the umbrella and handed her the letter? All of the 18 had been ruled out, and yet Beatrice was hidden amongst those 18. What was that person planning, hiding their true form and pretending to be Beatrice?
マリアちゃんの自作自演も疑ったんだけど、文章の内容が非常に手が込んでて、マリアちゃんが自前で用意したとは考えがたい。でも、マリアちゃんが何者かと共謀している可能性も否定できないわ。
おいおい、マリアは9歳のお子様だぜ。誰と何を共謀するってんだよ。しかも愚直で真面目で素直なあの性分だぜ。
ええ、私もマリアちゃんの性分はよく理解しているわ。でもだからこそあり得ると思うの。魔女に憧れ、その存在を盲信している夢見がちな少女。そこにベアトリーチェと名乗る人物が現れて魔女だと名乗ったら、彼女はそれを大喜びで鵜呑みにして信じるんじゃないかしら。
つまり、あの肖像画のごついドレスを着て変装すれば、マリアを騙すことは難しくないと。
その論法になっちゃうと、私たち女性陣はみんな疑われちゃうことになるんだ。とにかく、マリアちゃんが何者に出会ったのか。
Yeah, but then that creates the scenario where someone amongst them had to slip out at a moment's notice, because Maria being left alone in the roses garden was a thing of the moment. Nobody had planned. Rosa left her there because she was just so upset about it, and Maria was so obstinate about finding that particular rose. So this isn't something that could have been planned. Maria being alone couldn't have been planned in advance, and then someone of them slipping away at like a moment's notice to change into a fancy costume, go do the thing, and then come back and change and like reappear with the others. Isn't that even more complex than the assumption that there's someone there who just doesn't want to show themselves? I don't know.
それの詳細を聞くことが、この謎を解く一番にして最も身近な鍵なのよ。
Giving the letter could be planned, yes, but what I was trying to say, executing it in this way, by not making their absence felt among the rest of the people is not necessarily the easiest thing either.
しかしその鍵は少女の心の奥に堅くなに閉ざされてしまったわ。みんなが頭ごなしに魔女の存在を否定し、一体その人物は誰なのかと問い詰めすぎた。マリアちゃんは当分大人には心を開かないでしょうね。
In the dim hall, in front of the portrait of Beatrice, Maria was sobbing. No. God, they made her cry. Second time in the same day. Poor kid. Seriously now.
マリアがベアトリーチェに会ったことを信じてくれない。ベアトリーチェとくれた手紙も見せたのに、それでも信じてくれないの。
とにかく鍵はマリアちゃんが握ってるわ。ベアトリーチェが18人の中にいるのか19人目なのか、それを知る鍵をね。
マリアは頑固だぜ。あいつへそを曲げるとなかなか機嫌を直さないからな。
大人の私より子供のバトラ君の方が機嫌を直せる確率は高そうよ。彼女の機嫌が直ったら聞いてみて。遺産分配がどうのこうのって話には関心ないけど、こんな王道洋館ミステリーみたいなシチュエーションにはワクワクしちゃわない？マリアちゃんに手紙を渡した人物は一体誰なのか。知的好奇心がうずくわ。
うんざりするような金の話に付き合わされてもワクワクとは実にタフなことだぜ。大人はすげえや。
I shrugged, exasperated. But I had realized. She had noticed the dejection I was feeling because I had overheard our parents' turbulent discussion, and was probably trying to turn my mood around. She had at least managed to make me feel good enough to hurl abuse. She wasn't my real mother, so I never felt like calling her mum. But it did make me think. She's a real adult. Yeah, I mean, so far she's the best we have.
キリエも長え化粧直しじゃねえか。俺も次からは化粧をしてくることにするぜ。
ごめんなさい。女の化粧は長いのよ。どう？
I can confirm.
兄弟水入らずの話し合いは。
さぞや和気あいあいとしてるだろうよ。
Kiria-san poked the weak spot under my arm with her elbow.
一度頭を冷やそうってことで小休止さ。こりゃ夜通しになりそうだぜ。泣けてくれ。
His way of talking hadn't changed, but he couldn't completely hide his fatigue. Aww, oh Bear, I'm so sorry. I couldn't say I was sympathetic, but he looked pitiful compared to his normal energetic self.
しかしひでえ雨だな。ゲストハウスに戻るのも嫌になるぜ。夏日姉さんが屋敷で泊まれるよう準備してくれたらしい。どうする
？3階になった時に考えてもいいんじゃない？部屋に戻る体力もなくなってたら、その時はお世話になりましょうよ。
そうだな。その時に考えりゃいいか。バトラーはどうする？
俺がいちゃお邪魔だろうからよ。気使って向こうに戻るぜ。
そうか。すぐ戻るのか？
さあな。一人で戻ったって寂しいしよ。子供全員で揃って帰ることにするぜ。
そうだな。そうするといい。それでバトラー、お前今夜はそうは簡単には寝ないだろう。
多分いとこたちとおしゃべりしてるだろうからな。夜更かししそうな気配はあるぜ。それがどうかしたのかよ。
そうか。もし大人たちの会議が終わってお前がまだ起きてたら、ちょいと家族でしたい話があるんだ。
Okay.
なんだよ。柄にもねえな。
Apparently, Kirie-san was thinking the same thing. What are you talking about? She asked him in a small voice. It looked like Kirie-san didn't have a clue what Dad was talking about either.
キリエにも聞いてもらいたい話だ。後で話すから、今は聞くな。頼む。
Alright. I don't think there's anyone who ignores their family as much as this old bastard. And this was the guy that was asking us to have a talk as a family. Both Kirie-san and I couldn't help but get wide-eyed.
そうビビった顔すんなよ。ビビりてえのは俺の方なんだ。何しろ。
At that point, he swallowed his words for an instant. I don't remember Dad being the kind of person to artificially drum up suspense.
気持ち悪いぜ、親父。今、家族は全員揃ってるじゃねえかよ。もったいぶらずに言えよ。
俺は多分、今夜殺されるだろうな。
へへOkay, that's a bit too dramatic of a turn. I was not expecting something like that. There was a huge crash of thunder. It must have been really close. Dad's expression, brightly illuminated by the lightning, was burned into my eyes. Dad's face, which always looked so sure of itself and which always wore a taunting expression, was for some reason that I couldn't explain, strangely frail. It was so worn out that he looked like a different person.
は何言ってんだよ、ガラでもね。
同感よ。どうしたの？急に弱気ね。あなたらしくもない。
俺も化粧直しに行ってくる。
No, come on. I need more of this humor. Please, what? No.
ついてくんなよ。
Dad turned away weakly. After that, only Kirie-san and I were left, still wide-eyed.
なんだってんだ？今夜殺される？まさか、あの妙な手紙のせいで、親父ビビっちまったのか？連続殺人者の映画の見過ぎだぜ。
Kirie-san didn't answer my light-hearted words and continued to stare at my dad's disappearing back.
バトラ君はルドルフさんに今話せと言ったら話さず立ち去った。みんなに話すことがあると言い出しながら答えなかった。どうして？チェス盤をひっくり返す。すると
話すと言っておきながら話せない矛盾。なんすかね。親父側から見ると何か見えてきますか？
ええ、見えるわよ。話したいことがある。でも自分から言い出す勇気がない。だから追ってきて俺に話しかけて聞き出してくれが正解ね。ついてくるなも逆の意味よ。ついてきて俺を問い詰めてくれが正解。まったく甘えん坊さんなんだから。
そういう推理でいいんすか？
I mean, she knows him best.
そんなんめちゃくちゃな。
名探偵や名刑事が男女の気持ちや心を推理できる？できないでしょ？異性の気持ちを探るのは何次元のトリックを暴くよりはるかに高度な技術なのよ。私に言わせれば名作推理小説より恋愛小説の方がよっぽど難解なミステリーなんだから。
Kitty is onto something here. Oh my god. Wait, I need to read this again to really take it in. Romance novels have much deeper mysteries than masterpiece mystery novels. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I can get behind that. Yeah.
はあ、そういうもんすかね。
私はあの甘えん坊さんと一緒にいるわ。普段は虚勢を張ってるけど、今夜はかなりの激論で疲れ切ってる。誰かに寄りかかりたい気持ちなんでしょうね。それに応えるのがパートナーの役目よ。
はあ、そりゃお熱いことで。じゃあ、うちのクソ親父の世話をよろしく頼みますよ。
ええ、任せておいて。
As Kirie-san departed, I called out to her.
え？何？
いや、ありがとよって。おかげで、 陰鬱な気分がだいぶ晴れたぜ。
I guess it depends on the novel. It is a pertinent question to ask sometimes. I feel you.
ならよかった。コミュニケーションは大事ね。
After answering with a wink, Kiriya-san followed that after that. Natsuhi could be found in the dimly lit hallway. Now and then, the thunder would crash, but this had no effect on Natsuhi's expression. Her expression was completely worn out. The discussion that had just taken place between the relatives in the dining hall was repeating itself inside Natsuhi's mind. Beatrice had proclaimed that in addition to the gold, the headship and all of the assets of the Ushiromiya family would be given to the person who could solve the riddle. In other words, she planned to undermine the absolute guarantee that Kraus, as the oldest brother, had to succeed the family head. Originally, the other siblings had absolutely no chance to succeed the head. To them, this proposal by Beatrice was extremely desirable. It was obvious that they would accept Beatrice's proposal. Even without playing clumsy detective games, she knew that this so-called 19th person Beatrice couldn't exist. This was a message employing a fictional character called Beatrice as a messenger. It may as well have been written in Kinzo's own handwriting. The proof was that Kinzo remained stubbornly neutral as to that letter's authenticity. He was completely ignoring these reckless claims that he shouldn't be able to ignore. That he had given up the head's ring. In short, Kinzo had wordlessly admitted that the letter held his own message. Most likely, one of the servants had given Maria the letter. Kinzo had probably worked out an elaborate plan where the dress from the portrait would be prepared, and someone, probably Shannon, would be made to wear it and deliver the letter and the umbrella. Isn't that a little bit too on the nose, like too easy to decipher? I have the feeling like everything has been set out so neatly, so much attention to and care for detail has been employed in everything that has been told so far. It feels like every single thing that happens, even like a turn of phrase or an expression on the face of a character at a certain moment, everything is purposeful. So to have the story be like, oh no, just the servant dressed up as Beatrice and did the thing, that would be a little bit too boring, maybe, I would say. And like, if you are suspecting someone from the servants, you would immediately point to Shannon because she's the only young lady there. Okay, but again, isn't that a little bit too on the nose? By doing that, he could make it seem like the witch from the portrait actually existed. No, if anything, that is why you could be certain that Kinzo was behind all of this. In that case, it was just as if Kinzo had butted in on the siblings' private discussion. And by announcing that he would give everything to the person who could solve the riddle, Kinzo had weakened Kraus's overwhelming advantage. Now it was certain. Kinzo had listened in on the siblings' discussion in the parlor earlier that day. Okay, that is true. I don't know. It's a mystery. I have no idea. It also has not been established just yet what kind of world this is. Is there really magic, or is it just a fabrication of Kinzo's mind? Is it something that exists or not? To me, this has not been established, so everything is up in the air. As far as I'm concerned, there could actually be a witch there with actual powers. I would be down for that. I wouldn't discredit that, you know. So I'm just allowing things to flow. But I'm just saying that this just feels again just too boring. It just feels like any piece of the puzzle that would push the situation and the variables around everything that's happening just a little bit outside of their comfort zone, a little bit outside of like their strict grasp of logic and their plans and everything that's happening, any small thing, they're trying to reason it away so that only cold, hard logic and realistic and pragmatic thinking can apply. And my feeling is that maybe that's not just all there is to it, the situation. But I don't know. We'll see. It's just my feeling. It can be, like I said earlier, it can be very, very wrong. What do I know? He had listened in. Maybe not directly, but through the servants, that is true. So he had known how Kraus had staved off the attack by the other three. And to make the scales of the battle go back into balance, he had sent out this strange letter which benefited the other three. Eva and Rudolf had dragged Rosa in, who had a weak position among the siblings because of her age. And they were trying once again to overwhelm Kraus 3-on-1 and push through their crazy reasoning. You don't dislike people who read from the fantasy point of view? Okay, phew, thank you. You yourself read it like that? I mean, there's something fun in allowing, like, your mind to go there, that air of mystery, and, you know, just allow the story to be whatever it could possibly be until it, you know, everything falls into place and then you get the answer. But until you get to the answer, I mean, you're free to let your mind roam, and that is interesting and fun. Okay. Okay, and they were trying once again to overwhelm Kraus 3-on-1 and push through their crazy reasoning. And so they had resumed what had once been a nearly decided conflict and were repeatedly pressing Kraus to pay them a large amount of money. Talk about the advance payment, which had been denied once already, was being brought up again under the terms that all of the siblings would guarantee Kraus the succession to the family head. Oh, I don't even know what that could possibly mean. I just thought he was saying that I am allowing the possibility of there actually being magic in witch or whatever. What makes you think they will give the answers? I mean, I am assuming that the story will progress and some of the questions that are being posed right now will receive some answers from the point of view of, like, how the story goes. If the if the story is gonna make me, like, provide all the answers, I'm sorry, from the get-go I will say I will probably disappoint you. Right. I don't want you to shout it. I apologize if that's the direction to, that you feel like you should go in. That's not my intention. It's just everything is so up in the air right now. I don't know. Basically, that's the baseline. I don't know, but I am, in a way, quite... Is titillated the word? I think so. I am enthusiastic about anything that could come in and just scatter these so-called adults like scared, confused chicken when it's something that they had not counted on and something that they don't know the details of or that they cannot control. I enjoy it because it seems very fun. Right, and the only person so far to which I would not want to discredit, whose reasoning I would not want to discredit, is Kitty, because so far she seems like the more likable one, although, I mean, I don't know, she might have her depths of character as well. So I wouldn't want to discredit her logical reasoning from earlier too much. Because I want to appreciate her and take into account what she's saying, but at the same time, I don't know, I'm just, I guess I have developed a bit of a disliking of all the other adults, and I like it when their, you know, careful planning just gets turned onto its head by stuff that they didn't foresee. Okay, we will see, it's fine. The mystery solving can wait until there's actually a mystery. That is also true. We're like barely scratching the surface. Okay. I'm gonna shut up and just read. Of course, even without the story about the hidden gold, the Ushiromiya family's store of wealth was vast. Just that store was worth more than enough by itself. Even if the hidden gold was buried forever along with Kinzo's death, there would be more than enough to satisfy it. Therefore, even if they had no interest in the gold itself, there would be the lifelong fear that on the off chance that someone found the gold, that person would be granted the position a family had. And this kind of Achilles heel would definitely be taken advantage of by someone sooner or later. The only person with this fatal weakness was the successor to the head, Kraus. The other siblings had found. No, they had been told by Kinzo about something that only Kraus could lose, and they had thoroughly taken advantage of that. Natsuhi, as Kraus's only ally in this painful position, and as his wife, had believed she was fighting alongside him. She kept trying to point out to him that the existence of the gold itself was a farce, and that there was no need for him to compromise. Kraus had always told Natsuhi. He had told all of the siblings. He had always said that the hidden gold was nothing more than a fiction created by Kinzo. Therefore, Natsuhi had believed that as his wife, and on that foundation had supported her husband. Yet, her words would not reach him. Even though she was fighting so hard and lending all of her strength, he continued to fight by himself and was trying to compromise with the other 3 siblings. Wondering why she could not be of use to him, Natsuhi felt sorrow, shame, and then anger. It had happened when everyone decided to take a short break to cool their heads. Natsuhi had flared up against Kraus. Enraged, she had asked why she could not be useful to him. He had told her that he wanted to talk about something, and had invited her into one of his private rooms, which she was normally not allowed to enter. He has private rooms that his wife is not allowed to enter? Oh my god. That room had been sealed with a heavy-looking padlock, and just looking at it had given her an uncomfortable feeling. Let me guess,
他の3人の言うことも、ベアトリーチェを名乗る不審人物の言うことも、何も気にかけることはありません。
Let me guess, he also thinks he's gonna be murdered tonight or something along those lines?
黄金など所詮はお父様が生み出したまやかし。それを見つけられることなどあるわけがない。あなたが跡継ぎであることは盤石です。何を恐れることがあるのです。
Kraus removed the padlock on the door. He then motioned for Natsuhi to enter.
入りたまえ。
何ですか？
見せたいものがある。君に初めて見せるものだ。
Natsuhi timidly opened the door with a dubious expression on her face. It was pitch black. She searched for a switch to turn on the lights, but since this was her first time in the room, she didn't know where it was. Private room for his Nintendo Switch. I bet he's playing Tears of the Kingdom right about now. Kraus entered behind her, pushing her in, and closed the door before making any attempt to turn on the lights. The two were swallowed up by the darkness. Only the sound of Kraus locking the door rang out through the dark.
これは何事ですか？明かりは？
今つける。待ちたまえ。
True to his word, Kraus pushed the switch on the wall, and a flickering light turned on and lit up the room.
それは。
Natsuhi had her breath taken away. The room had no windows, and at a glance it appeared to be empty. In the middle of the room, a small, round table had been set, and the lights brightened only that table as if it were the leading part in a play. Laid out on top of the table was a red tablecloth of elaborate design, covered with dust. And on top of that, something about the size of a grown man's arm had been set down. That's fairly specific, something the size of an arm. That something took Natsuhi's breath away. Ah, okay.
凄まじい純度を持つ黄金のインゴットだよ。こいつがなければ誰も黄金伝説を信じはしなかった。
It was an ingot of solid gold. Even in the faint light, it sparkled with a noble and dignified gold glint.
こいつはまともなインゴットじゃない。このインゴットを鋳造したのが国内なのか国外なのか、それすらも私にはわからないんだ。
I'm less surprised there are rooms Kraus did not allow Natsuhi to enter than by the fact she actually never went into those. I mean, she so far has been shown to be a very devoted and obedient wife. So if she would have been told it's not proper for you to do that, then she wouldn't do it. Particularly, I guess, exacerbated by her position of more outsider than the kids themselves, you know, from this family. So I understand it from the fact that she kind of internalizes and accepts her inferiority. I can see her reasoning going in a direction that's not for me, and I don't want to compromise my position even more by doing something that I'm not allowed to. I mean, from what I gathered about her character so far, I would say that's appropriate. The Yamato Nadeshiko archetype, aka a Japanese traditional wife, yep. I do? I don't know. This is just all that I have gathered over the course of like 4 streams and a half. Might be wrong. Who knows? It takes a high level of skill to make the purest of solid gold ingots. And in order to verify that purity, it is standard to have the original foundry and the name of the bank that guaranteed it imprinted on the gold. However, this ingot did not have that kind of seal. This mysterious gold bar had come from an unknown foundry. Oh, sorry. Natsuhi, following Kraus's words, timidly approached the ingot. Kraus pointed at the surface of the ingot. Natsuhi concentrated on that section. Right there was the thin imprint of the one-winged eagle crest. I mean, the way this is drawn, it's not thin at all. It's the first thing you notice when you see the image, but okay. Natsuhi's breath was taken away once again.
これこそが親父がベアトリーチェに与えられたといい、保証人のマルソーの会長に任意で一つを抜き取らせて持ち帰らせ、財界のフィクサーたちを信用させたという方々に手を尽くして私が見つけた。他の兄弟たちより早く。
I wonder what those possible means are.
そんな。じゃあ、お父様の黄金伝説は
How do you track this down? I have so many questions.
実在する。後宮金蔵が授けられたベアトリーチェの黄金は実在するのだよ。
You're just seeing one piece. You're extrapolating. But let's see.
そんな。本当にあるなんて。
Natsuhi was shocked. Kraus had always said that Kinzo's gold was just a fabrication, so she had believed it as his wife. However, the reality was different. He had held definite proof and had been more certain than any of the other siblings that the legend of the gold was true. Because of this, Kraus was deeply frightened at the possibility that someone other than himself would find the gold that he had failed to find, costing him everything. There it is, the fear that I had mentioned. But to Natsuhi, this truth was more than enough to split open her heart. Also a low bar, by the way, I don't understand people's first name. Aw, don't put yourself down. No. She had thought that, as Kraus's wife, she should be his closest confidant, which was why she had been selflessly supporting him. And yet he had hidden this fact from her until today. Why? Because he is obsessed with having it under his control. It was his lifelong obsession to make everyone believe that this was not true, because he had some inkling that it might be true, but he had no idea how to gather everything and have it for himself, or some sort of, again, control over what happens with it. There it is.
そこまでに私はあなたの信頼に足りないというのですか？
そういうつもりはない。話す必要がなかっただけだ。
あなたにとっては妻はその程度のものなのですか？
A very pertinent question here. Yeah.
落ち着きたまえ。劇場にすぐ駆られるのは君の悪い癖だ。
I mean, you have no problem when it's in your favor, right?
あなたがそうさせてるんじゃないですか？私は後宮家に嫁ぎ、今日まであなたの妻として仕えてきました。あなたのために生まれた家を捨て、身も心も捧げてお仕えしてきました。その報いがこれなんですか？そんなことって。
Kraus grimaced, looking annoyed. His expression effectively communicated how much he disliked this part of Natsuhi. But she's right in being upset. She's absolutely justified.
私はもうあなたの力になれそうもありません。
うん、それでいい。兄弟のトラブルを私が自分の力で解決する。君の力は借りんよ。
違います。これは後宮家のトラブルです。確かに私にはこの身に家紋を刻むことが許されていません。でもあなたの妻です。なのに私には力添えする資格もないのですか？あなた。
君を思えばこそあえて関わらせなかったのだ。これ以上は頭痛に障るだろう。
I mean, if you don't talk it through, her head is just gonna keep spinning and go into a rabbit hole, and that will make it worse.
君は今夜はこれで休みたまえ。
As if that's so easy to do.
兄弟の話は兄弟でつける。
Kraus skipped casual patriarchy to go straight professional. Oh my god.
君は関係ない。それだけだ。
I don't think he realizes the weight of what he's saying there. If he's saying that his troubles and his issues have nothing to do with her, his wife, that is basically undermining everything that she stands for. She's his partner. So that if she is not, that has nothing to do with her, then she's not actually his partner. Oh my god. Oh my god. A dull headache tormented Natsuhi. No matter what medicine she took, no matter what scents she burned, it wouldn't heal. On the other hand, by standing here alone in a dimly lit corridor, her head filled with the sound of the rain, she felt like the pain had softened a little. Amazing scene alert. Okay. I may have been Natsuhi, but I was not Ushiromiya Natsuhi. Stupid Lammok thinks he does her a favor by trying to shoulder everything himself. It's not even that part, because I can understand that. That's very manly of him, and I respect it when he encounters something that he feels is a very difficult burden, and he decides to take it upon himself to maybe try to spare her. But when he puts it like, this has nothing to do with you, I would deal with it, he doesn't realize just how much he completely discredits and dismisses her. Music is nice, yes. So it's one thing to phrase it as, you know, a gesture born out of care and out of some sort of responsibility that this is a trouble or an issue that he brought upon themselves from his family and not wanting to burden her with it. That's one thing. But to say that she should not be involved at all and she has nothing to do, and when she asks, like, what is it? Do you mean I'm not qualified to help you? It's like, yeah, sure. If that's how you want to put it, you think it is that way. Let me deal with it. And he, like, walks off into the sunset. Okay. Yes. Yes. Indeed. I think more than anything, both of them are in a very stressful situation, exaggerating their worst qualities and gripes with one another. Oh yeah, that definitely is happening too. I'm not contesting it. This thing puts a lot of strain on the parts of their relationships that are kind of creaking and not well oiled and not, you know, vibing well together. It's definitely, that's where you feel the pressure, and that's where things seem to start breaking between them. In terms of worst qualities, as individuals, I was mostly focused on the cracks in their relationship with one another. I guess Natsuhi is having these reactions that are very passionate, very dramatic, very I don't know, what is the word? Very heightened, right? And it seems that this is something that she does on a regular basis, so it has come to the point where Kraus just takes them as for granted. Oh, this is just Natsuhi being Natsuhi, and doesn't realize she doesn't communicate properly the level of distress. Like, everything is distressful. So when everything is distressful, she's constantly reacting like this, from what I'm interpreting and what he's saying, that it seems this is a normal occurrence for her, then to him it just has become noise, and he no longer takes it seriously. And it's not necessarily Natsuhi's fault, it's also his, but it's coming from both sides. There's percentages in assigning the blame, it's not black and white. Of course, I agree, in this situation, she's absolutely justified in being like this. But you see how he immediately, oh, you're just being dramatic as always. Maybe in the past, she has shown this kind of tendency, and so now, even when the situation warrants it, it no longer reaches him because she's done it. I'm just emitting a hypothesis. Alright. Denigrated as being a sorry excuse for a wife, verbally abused for not even being able to take care of that. Even so, I tried to properly perform the duties of a wife, but have been rejected even by my husband. Okay, amazing scene alert, let's go. I did my best raising my daughter as though it was the last job left to me. However, my anger and sadness having no place to go caused me to subconsciously strain that relationship too. Because I have been excessively strict in Jessica's education, I am thoroughly disliked by her. Jessica despises me for not being interested in anything but grades. There's no longer anything I can do for the Ushiromiya family. No, that's no good. Even so, I must help my husband dislodge the schemes of the other greedy siblings. The head won't be around much longer. Eventually Kraus will succeed the head, and the next successor will be Jessica. Strictly speaking, the man who enters the family by marrying Jessica will become the next head, but it all comes to the same thing. I have to make Jessica an excellent successor who everyone will accept as worthy to take over the Ushiromiya family. In the years to come, that greedy Ushiromiya Eva will surely be continually plotting to find some fault with the main family, so that if all goes as she plans, Jessica will be dragged down from the succession with George in her place. It is regrettable, but George is a man, and even more has matured as a person. If you compare him to Jessica, who is right in the middle of her rebellious period and whose grades are below average, you can see at a glance who is more fit to succeed the head. So in order to secure Jessica's position, I need to turn her into an excellent person. After doing that, I want to find her an excellent husband worthy of the excellent person she will have become. A wonderful man who will truly accept Jessica and stay with her through all of life's joys and sorrows. Was that Natsuhi trying to entrust her daughter with fulfilling some desire of her own? Natsuhi thought back to the days when she'd had no choice but to marry into the Ushiromiya family because of that unavoidable fate. She had tried to block that from her memory. She had consciously forgotten that and had actively attended to the life she had been given as Ushiromiya Natsuhi. And this was the new life she had built. But it felt like, just now, all of that had been casually rejected.
何を考えて生きていけばいいのかわからない。
Natsuhi hopelessly rested her head against the glass of the window. The glass, cooled by the raindrops beating against it, was somehow refreshing. And even though it had no emotions, right then it seemed to be the only thing that could understand Natsuhi. Even if someone showed up there and saw her like this, Natsuhi had no intention of caring in the least. But she found herself caring. Because it was her beloved daughter.
母さんか。なんだよ、こんなところに。幽霊かと思ったぜ。
Just like always, her words were rough and not at all like a girl's. Instinctively, words of rebuke rose to Natsuhi's throat. However, they did so only weakly, and so she was able to prevent them from escaping her lips.
ジェシカ、ごめんね。母さんは頭痛がひどいの。そっとしといてくれる？
そう。
Jessica was more than slightly disconcerted by this first ever sight of feebleness from her mother. Until just now, she had been filled with contempt for all of the parents, including her mother. But now, not the slightest bit of that feeling remained. All of it had been wiped out by her mother's completely exhausted face. In its place, the words that George had told her floated back up in her mind. The parents are doing their best in their own way. They are supporting their family so they can't afford to keep everything pleasant, and have a heavy responsibility to fight. Couldn't her mother have been standing around in this dimly lit hallway because no one had tried to understand that? Jessica didn't like her mother, so she had no instinct to give her mother words of kindness just because she looked a little frail. Therefore, in order to give those words, regardless, she had to clench both her fists and wrench the words out from the depths of her heart.
ずいぶん立て込んだ話をしてるようじゃん。
お前には関係あります。よそへ行っていなさい。
頭痛ひどい？私、薬もらってこようか。
構わないで結構です。お願いだから一人きりにして。
Natsuhi was not being cold to her. She just wanted to get her daughter far away from her so that she could avoid subjecting her to her short temper. But there was no chance that her intentions would reach Jessica. Jessica hung her head, looking sad. Looking at that expression, Natsuhi realized that Jessica was trying to muster up the strength to be kind to her mother. She gave her head a small shake to drive away her own unkind feelings.
じゃあ私、行くよ。大人の邪魔にならないように、いとこたちと一緒にいるから。じゃあ。
お待ちなさい。
She called Jessica, about to make her desolate exits, to stop.
何？
気遣いをありがとう。お前を残して寝込むわけにはいきません。
よせよ。縁起でもないぜ。
心配をかけました。もう大丈夫です。私は行きます。
Staying here any longer with such a feeble expression would actually make her daughter feel more uncomfortable. Thinking this, Natsuhi left Jessica with words of gratitude and made to depart. This time it was Jessica who called out to her mother's back. Natsuhi stopped, turned around, and asked what she wanted. But Jessica herself didn't know why she had stopped her mother. And for a while she muttered to herself with a slightly forced smile as she hesitated over what to say. She was poking around in her pocket when her hand touched something and she took it out.
さ、母さん、私さ、今日、お守りもらったんだよ。なんだっけな、魔除けだったっけ？確かその、ドアノブにぶら下げてるといいんだっけ？忘れちまったぜ。私が持ってても仕方ないし、母さんにあげるよ。
It was the scorpion charm that Maria had given her by the beach that day. Although she had heard of its various effects from Maria, right now Jessica's mind was blank, and it was all she could do to say even that much. Thinking that her mother probably wouldn't accept the charm anyway, Jessica had immediately drawn back the hand offering it to her. So when Natsuhi came back and took hold of that hand, she was extremely surprised.
これは何かの景品？
まあその、私も多分そうだろうと思ってるけどよ。こんなおもちゃみたいなお守りじゃ、ご利益は期待できねえよな。
But her mother took the scorpion charm from her grip.
ありがとう。大切にします。ジェシカには今度、私が子供の頃大切にしていたお守りを代わりにあげましょう。
別にそんなつもりで渡すんじゃないぜ。でもまあ、どうしてもって言うなら。
では、私はもう休みます。頭痛がひどいので。ジェシカもあまり夜更かしをしすぎないように。
うん。
Natsuhi put the charm in her pocket and turned away. She then disappeared into the dark hall.
やっぱり明日も丸一日こんな天気みたいだね。
やれやれ。今日の日中が嘘のようだぜ。
George, Aniki, and I were killing time in front of the parlor television. Natsuhi is pretty wonderful. That was a very, very beautiful scene. Bear likes it. Yeah, it was very nice. It's like their clumsiness at expressing themselves, but still overall the feeling of affection and genuine care for each other kind of permeated above the words. That was very nice. Oh, sorry about that. At that point, Jessica returned. Her face was still blank, but it looked like she had calmed down a little since she had left.
マリアはまだ肖像画前？
いや、さっき戻ってきて、今はそっちのソファーで寝てるぜ。
Oh.
マリアにはもう遅い時間だもんな。
Oh, precious one. Looking at the clock, it was a little past 10 p.m. Even if we were going to stay up all night, it was about time to head back to our room.
一応、うちのお袋が屋敷にも部屋を用意してくれたんだけどよ。どうする？
僕はゲストハウスに戻りたいかな。親たちの様子を見る限り、僕たちはお屋敷にいない方がいいと思う。
俺も同感だぜ。子供は邪魔せず引っ込んでろって感じみてえだからな。おとなしくそうするさ。
After we discussed that, Auntie Rosa came into the parlor. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Maria.
ローザおばさん。マリアならそこのソファーっすよ。
ありがとう。すっかり眠っちゃってるわね。ベッドに移さないと。
よかったら僕がベッドまで背負っていきましょうか。
ありがとう。助かるわ。ジョージ君たちはゲストハウスに戻るの？それとも夏日姉さんが用意してくれた部屋に泊まるのかしら？
今話し合ってました。ゲストハウスへ戻ろうかって話になったところです。
そう。なら、マリアも一緒にしてあげてもいいかしら。いとこのみんなと一緒の方が、きっと安心できると思うしね。
It seemed that in the shadow behind those words, there was some regret that the adults, herself included, had deeply hurt Maria's feelings.
任してくださいよ、おばさん。 何しろこっちにゃマリアをあやすことに関してはエキスパートがいるっすからね。
それは僕のことかい？僕だけじゃ無理だよ。みんなでだよ。
そうだぜ。バトラだってあんなにもマリアと意気投合してふざけ合ってたじゃねえかよ。
As we said this, Auntie Rosa smiled, looking truly happy.
みんな、ありがとう。私たちの話し合いは、だいぶ遅くまでかかりそう。だから、申し訳ないけど、マリアをみんなにお願いするわ。
おーい、マリア。熟睡か？ゲストハウスに戻るぞ。
Maria muttered something indistinct as if answering, but then rolled over and fell back asleep. That feeling when Battler stops being a creep and Umineko turns into the best novel ever written? Okay. Yeah, that's true. He hasn't been a creep in a little bit. It looked like she was sleeping deeply.
すっかり寝込んじゃったようだぜ。起こすのは悪いな。
うん。僕が背負うよ。
Maria's body was much lighter than it looked. George Aniki picked her up and pulled her over his back. It was raining hard outside and Aniki couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Maria at the same time. It looked like Auntie Rosa would come with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, when she heard Uncle Krause's voice call out to her, she had no choice but to return.
困ったわね。もう戻らないと。あ、皆さん、ゲストハウスまでお戻りですか？
After we left the hall on the way to the entrance, the door to the servant room opened and Shannon-chan stepped out.
だいぶ暗くなっておりますので、私がご案内させていただきます。ちょうどよかったわ、シャノンちゃん。ジョージ君がマリアをおぶっていてくれるの。傘をさしてあげてくれないかしら。はい、かしこまりました。
Shannon-chan brought umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, the downpour was quite terrific. It looked like we wouldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden.
兄貴、重くねえか？
What rose garden? It's probably being destroyed by the storm.
俺が背負うぜ。
大丈夫だよ。マリアちゃんくらい背負えるよ。
本当にありがとうね。マリアをよろしくお願い。
うん、わかりました。じゃあ、おやすみなさい、おばさん。
それでは、お送りしてまいります。ええ、よろしく。
Auntie Rosa saw us off.
マリア、いつも、ごめんね。
Rosa's mumbling voice didn't reach the person in question nor anyone else, but disappeared beneath the sound of the rain. After cutting through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house.
俺がマリアを背負って立候補すりゃよかったぜ。そうすりゃ傘をさしてくれるシャノンちゃんのでっけえお胸を二の腕でたっぷり堪能できたってのによ。
What was that about him stopping being a creep? There he goes again.
そんなつもりじゃないよ。誤解だよ。
Yeah, that was fun. All three of us had the same thought at the same time. There we go.
そうしないとジョージ様が濡れてしまうと思いまして。
ほーら、バカなこと言ってないで入るぜ。
After being nudged by Jessica, Shannon folded up her umbrella and went into the guest house.
お召し物を濡らしてしまった方はいらっしゃいませんか？タオルを用意いたしますが。
He will get better after episode 1. Okay.
そこまで気を使わなくていいぜ。
I'm happy to hear that there's an end in sight somewhere.
ありがとよ、シャノンちゃ
ん。そうだ。僕たちはこれからトランプでもして少し遊ばないかって話なんだけど、よかったら少し一緒しないかい？
あれ？今日のシフト、深夜勤は誰になってんだ？
親族会議中は特別シフトになってたと思いました。
Okay. I'm bracing myself. It's okay. I'm ready.
少し変更も出てるみたいなので、ちょっと確認してきます。
ああ、わざわざ屋敷に戻らないとわからないんなら無理に。
あ、大丈夫です。ゲストハウスの使用人室でわかりますので、ちょっと失礼しますね。
Shannon-chan gave a quick bow and went into the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed for the cousin's room and put Maria in the bed for the time being. Maria was sleeping very deeply, and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. We got some drinks out of the room's refrigerator and spent some time playing cards while drinking.
あれ？カノン君？源氏様までこちらに。今夜のシフトはどうなっているのでしょうか？
クラウス様の命令があってね。シフトの大掛かりな変更があったんだよ。
うん。ゴーダがお屋敷の深夜勤に変更になった。
あは。
シャノンとカノンはゲストハウスの深夜勤。私と熊沢はゲストハウスに泊まるようにとのご命令だ。お前も今夜はこのままこちらに留まるよう。たったい。
ずいぶん大掛かりな変更ですね。
So, like 4 people tending the guest house and only one suspiciously at the mansion.
お屋敷とゲストハウスの当番がまるっきり逆になってるじゃないですか。
Originally, Shannon and Kanon had been given the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house, where all the relatives were staying, had been assigned to Goda, who had an abundance of experience in entertaining. Kumasawa had been scheduled to stay in the guest house, while Genji had been scheduled to stay in the mansion. However, it seemed that Kraus had suddenly ordered that the schedule be modified. The shifts at the guest house and the mansion had all been reversed, and Genji was spending the night in the guest house.
多分ベアトリーチェ様の手紙のせいだろうね。
But didn't he also say that Kumasawa is also in the guest house? Or she's gonna come, or maybe I misunderstood that.
多分
Anyway.
ってどうして？
あんな怪しげな手紙が現れたらクラウス様が僕たちを疑うのは当然だからね。
Yeah, because okay, I see.
親方様直属の僕たちを極力親族会議の席から遠ざけたかったんだろうよ。
Genji, Shannon, and Kanon were all permitted to wear the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, as the servants who served directly under Kinzo. Of course, since they were working for the Ushiromiya family, they had to obey anyone's orders, but their only boss was Kinzo. Since only Kinzo held the right to employ them, even Kraus could not have them dismissed of his own accord. Because of this, they were often viewed by Kraus and the others as Kinzo's underlings and shunned. And in reality, Kinzo would seldom let anyone other than them enter his study. You could probably call this sudden shift change a clear expression of that sense of distrust. Considering the time Kinzo had left to live, this would definitely be the last family conference before the problem of the inheritance would come up. On top of that, the mysterious letter that claimed to be from Beatrice had dropped in out of the blue. Kraus definitely wanted to keep Kinzo's loyal subjects away from the table of such a delicate and important discussion.
ではすまんが、私は向こうでくつろがせてもらう。もし何かあったらすぐに呼ぶように。今夜のお客様は特別だ。
はい、かしこまりました。源氏様。
Genji nodded back, went behind the screen, took off his jacket, and slowly began to relax after a day's worth of tension.
今お戻りになられたのはお子様方？
うん。親族の方々はお屋敷で会議を。だいぶ長引きそうな雰囲気だったかな。
なら気楽だね。これ以上の深夜になって、しかもこの天気。多分親族の皆さんはお屋敷の方のお部屋にお泊まりさ。
多分ね。源氏様がいないから言うけど、ゲストハウス行きになってちょっと嬉しかった。
ふん。どうしてだい？意地悪な奥様やエヴァ様から離れられたから？それとも別の理由があるのかい？
別の理由なんか、ありません。
そっか。なら、二人で深夜勤を頑張ろう。よろしく、姉さん。
私、ついさっきお子様方にお部屋で遊ばないかとお呼ばれしてて。
Shannon hung her head apologetically and made uncertain glances towards Cannon's eyes. Cannon didn't try to meet her gaze and spoke curtly as he sighed. It looked like he didn't plan on indulging his sister.
ダメだよ。深夜勤仰せつかってる。それに、僕たち家具には遊びのお誘いは必要ない。わかるね。
そんなことわかってます。
Shannon dropped her shoulders slightly. She had already expected that Cannon, who considered rules to be very important, would probably say something like that, but even so, she was a little discouraged. As Cannon turned the pages of a logbook, he spoke without facing Shannon.
なら、お子様方お待たせしてしまってるね。深夜勤に当たってしまったから、ご一緒できないと謝ってこなきゃ。行ってきなよ。
私、謝ってくるね。
Shannon hurriedly stood from her seat before her brother's mood could change, gave a quick bow, and flew out of the servant room. As he watched her disappear, Cannon took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen.
カノン、私がここにいるから、お前も行くといい。
源氏様、誘われたのはシャノンだけです。僕は別に誘われては。
その場にいなかったから、お声をかけられなかっただけだ。言えばお前も誘われている。たまには子供らしく遊んでくると。
Oh man, this has like opened my heart to love Genji. Yes, I full-heartedly agree.
いえ、僕には必要ない行為です。人の子には遊びも必要でしょうが、僕らは家具ですから。
そうか。
姉さんだって家具です。人のふりをしたって後で苦しむだけなのに、僕はそれが分かっているから人に近づきたくないだけなんです。
Genji did not say anything after that. A few moments passed, and then he stood up, used a pot of hot water to make some hot chocolate from powder, and served it to Cannon as well. Oh, I want hot chocolate too! That's so cute. He really cares about them. I like that. What's he talking about?
声が大きいぜ。マリアが起きちゃうだろ。
Butler was so surprised that he yelled obnoxiously and scattered his cards everywhere. His voice caused Maria to turn over once, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep. Jessica gave him a jab and he lowered his voice.
しかし、言われてみれば確かにそれっぽい雰囲気はあったんだよな。
Chocolate. Oh god. Oh. I don't have any. Now I want some.
なるほどな。ジョージの兄貴がな。
George could not be seen anywhere in the room. A short while ago, when Shannon had come into the room, George had suddenly said that he had forgotten something in the mansion and needed to go back and get it. Okay. Through this weather? Can't it wait until tomorrow morning? Shannon had said that she would guide him, just like she had on the way to the guest house, and the two of them had departed together. Oh my god. Oh my god, so many variables, so many people moving suspiciously through the night. If something happens tonight, I'm not gonna be able to untangle the mystery. I'm telling you from the get-go, I have no such skills.
いや、昔からそれっぽい気配はあったんだぜ。好きなものを聞いてきたり、趣味を聞いてきたりさ。
Ah, I see.
単に関心を持つだけにしてはどうも、なんて思ってたらよ。
そういや、昔からジョージの兄貴はシャノンちゃんにやたらと優しかった気がするぜ。
He was inquiring about her when he came or something, right?
なるほどな。
天気予報によると、今夜が一番ひどいみたい。明日いっぱいも止まないらしいけど、もう少しマシになるそうだよ。
そうですか。では、あさってまでは船は来られないかもしれませんね。ジョージ様の月曜日のお勤めに差し支えが出ないか心配です。
台風が来ていることは知っていたからね。万一に備えて月曜日には予定を入れなかったから大丈夫さ。こう見えてもスケジュールは先読みできるタイプなんだ。
George puffed out his chest, acting proud. Compared to the normally composed appearance that George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly like a little kid. Shannon chuckled at this gap.
さすが。やがては会社を起こされる方はしっかりしていますね。
やっぱり会社を起こすというのは大変だね。お金とかそういうのだけじゃないものがとても大事だって父さんのところで勉強していてわかるよ。会社を起こすということは城を持ち部下を率いるということ。うちの父さんは秀吉って名前だけあって戦国武将のエピソードがとても好きでね。会社経営の哲学をよくそこから語るんだ。知ってるかい？戦国最強の騎馬軍団と恐れられた武田信玄も最初は部下たちの結束がバラバラで統率力をまるで発揮できなかったんだそうだよ。
そうなんですか？なんだか意外ですね。
信玄は部下たちを結束させるため数々のリーダーシップを発揮してるんだよ。例えば戦場で武功を立てた部下に対しすぐその場で褒章を与えたり、普通こういうのは戦が終わってからまとめてやるものだからね。それを戦場の本陣の中にいながらまめにやり続け、部下の武功を素早く評価しやる気につなげたというのは非常に大きいことだよ。それから部下が病気で伏せった時には誰よりも早く駆けつけお見舞いをしたとかね。武田信玄は戦国最強の騎馬軍団を率いただけじゃない、戦国一の部下思いの人だったんだよ。
Incredible George Riz right here. Ah.
そんな方だから部下の皆さんもついてきてくれたんですね。
The truth was Shannon had already heard the story several years ago, but when George started to tie his father in with one of these stories, he would always be beaming, looking like he was having a great time. So Shannon did not interrupt, but merely smiled to encourage him to continue.
確かに資本主義の世界ではお金は力で石垣の高さでもある。でもね、戦も城も自分一人じゃ成り立たない。大勢の部下に支えられ、その力を借りて初めて成立するものなんだよ。それを理解してから父さんの背中を見ると、自分がいかに未熟で、父さんがどれほどの切磋琢磨をして今日を築き上げてきたかがよくわかるんだ。
ジョージ様はお父様のことをとても尊敬されているんですね。羨ましいです。
ごめん。別にそういう意味で言ったんじゃないんだよ。
すみません。私も別にそういう意味で言ったつもりは。
The two of them awkwardly looked at their feet. Shannon had no parents. She had been brought up in a welfare institute owned by Kinzo called the Gospel House. Under the guidance of the honorary director, Kinzo, the Gospel House offered excellent students a chance to live a life of service. If they were accepted, they would be able to leave the institute and work as servants for the Ushiromiya family. This was considered to be the highest honor for a student. Servants from the Gospel House, Fukuin, all took names with the character in on non. Ah, I see. In them while they served. That explains it. There we go. So Shannon wasn't her real name. The same goes for Kanon. All of the students of the Gospel House were orphans, or failing that, people who had been disowned by their parents through some special circumstances. Because of this, the students had been taught to think of each other as their only family. That's why it seemed so natural to Kanon to call Shannon his sister. And while only Shannon and Kanon were working today in the mansion, there were other servants who worked in the shift rotation named Manon and Lennon, who also inherited the character in their names. However, there were not many servants who stayed with the Ushiromiya family for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years. So you could probably say that Shannon, who had been working for over 10 years, was a very rare exception to the rule. Working as a servant for the Ushiromiya family was a heavy burden to bear, but the pay wasn't bad at all. Working for a full 3 years would earn more than what was needed to enter mainstream society. That was why, even though the students realized what a harsh task working for the Ushiromiya family was, they still hoped to be accepted. But in Shannon's case, maybe the fact that she had managed to continue for more than 10 years should not be viewed as her having more willpower than any of the other servants. Maybe it was a lack of courage to say that she wanted to quit that forced her to continue working for those 10 years. To Kinzo, who could not even trust his own blood relatives, those excellent servants sent from the gospel house were the only ones he could trust. Interesting. That makes a lot of sense now why he trusts his servants so much. Because of that, Kinzo would sometimes allow them to wear the family crest as servants under his direct control, and have them work close to him.
もう勤めて10年近くになるんだっけ。だいぶお金も貯まったんじゃないかい？
どうでしょう。別に私、買いたいものも特にありませんし、ほんの何百万かあったって、それで残りの人生を過ごせるわけもありませんし。
目標の額があってお勤めを続けてるわけじゃないのかい？
そうですね。私はこのお屋敷以外に行くあてもありませんし、お嬢様とも他の使用人の子たちとも仲良くやれてますし、奥様には時折お叱りを受けますけど、バラの世話やお屋敷のお掃除も楽しいですし。
でもそれはシャノンちゃんのサヨちゃんの人生じゃない。
Ooh. Shannon cast her eyes downwards when she heard her real name. She understood what George was trying to say and closed her mouth. Aww.
僕は成人し、社会人になってからも勉強して分かったことがある。
Now she is the best girl.
子供の頃、僕らが思っていたほど人生は単調で短くないんだ。
That horrifying thought that everyone has in their student years. Will the rest of my life be like a monotonous, boring, sleep-inducing after-school class, where I endlessly, lazily, while away the time, until finally it ends without anything interesting ever happening? However, these thoughts only arise while a person is still an underage student. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as a student is nothing more than a blink of the eye, just a period before they break out of their shells and cast off their immaturity. The inside of the shell might be a hot, suffocating and boring world, but the world beyond that shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities, and also responsibilities.
君の人生はまだシャノンという殻の中でしかないんだ。君は自分の人生がこの生活のままずっと続いていくと勘違いしてるんじゃないかな。
それは。
Shannon couldn't deny those words. She hadn't been able to find any concrete issues with her way of life, and since she'd never had any desire or goal to change herself in any particular way, she had continued her life idly. And if she were asked whether her life was already fulfilled, she wouldn't necessarily have been able to nod. That may have been a truth she was deliberately averting her eyes from. As long as George did not realize that truth, she would have continued pretending not to notice as her real life slipped away, neglected bit by bit.
ジョージ様、私はこのままでいてはいけないのでしょうか？
いけないよ。あ、それから今、ルール違反が一つあったね。
George immediately gave a strict answer and then broke out into a mischievous smile. Shannon already knew what she was being chided for, and it seemed that it embarrassed her as she hung her head.
僕たちしかいないときは、様はなしの約束だよ。
約束では聞けません。ですが、ご命令でしたら聞かないわけにはいきません。私は家具ですから。
じゃあ、命令だよ。
はい。かしこまりました、ジョージさん。
As Shannon hung her head, her face red, she said George's name again, this time using son.
うん。それでいいよ、さよちゃん。
A smile rose to George's face, praising Sayo's small act of bravery. The way they talked with each other gave off the sense that their relationship had already been ongoing for some time. For a long while, as if the weather raging around them didn't even enter their consciousness, the two of them talked about the many memories they'd built during their relationship that no one else knew about. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would attempt to dampen the mood, but it could not sully these moments which seemed to flush even the roses outside a deeper shade of red. Okay.
そうだ。君に見せたいものがあって。
なんでしょうか。
I used to like George until Umineko streamers ruined it for me with the age gap and power imbalance and relationship issues. I guess I'm not sure what that even refers to so far. George, who had been speaking eloquently, suddenly started to stutter. I didn't consider those things when reading for the first time. Okay. I guess I'll keep that in mind, but so far so good. George is 24, Shannon 16. Okay. But, wait. Really? She's been working here for 10 years. She's been working since she was 6? I was assuming she was also towards her 20s already. I mean, that's alright. So far, I'm not seeing anything... I mean, I'm alright. I guess. Although... When did this all start? Okay. Nah. Let's just take it for what it is. Let's see where this goes. So... From his manner, Shannon too understood something. George timidly searched through his pocket for it. It got caught deep in his pocket somehow and came out somewhat slowly and awkwardly in the same manner as his speech. It was a very small box. A small box covered in a deep blue velvet. Its characteristic shape was enough to make anyone realize what was resting inside. Okay, I don't know. So far, I don't necessarily feel spoiled. Shannon had been preparing her heart a little sure of what it must be. But even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once more. George opened the small box, took it out, and held it out for Shannon to take.
これを君に受け取ってほしいんだ。
このような高価なものは、お受け取りできません。
受け取れない。
いえ、こんなもの、私には、過ぎていて。
さよ、これはお願いじゃない。命令だよ。この指輪を受け取って。ね。
命令では従わなくてはなりません。
うん、そうだね。いい子だよ。
Aww, okay. Oh, she's so cute. Shannon, not wanting to show her bright red face, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. That ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble object which, since ancient times, was meant to be offered to a special woman, with a special meaning. So while George could order her to take it, he could not order anything beyond that. Anything beyond that would depend not on an order, but on Shannon's Sayo's own will. Maid equals best girl.
だから、ここからはもう命令じゃない。
There it is. Thank you. I was kinda already feeling like this was bubbling up to say that like he shouldn't keep abusing this order thing because at some point it has to come of her own free will, right? So there we go. Very nice. Very cool, George.
さよ。明日までに言葉でない形で返事がもらいたい。わかるね。
どうすれば。
もうこれ以上は命令じゃないから、僕は君に命令はしない。でも、指輪は指にするものだからね。気に入ってくれたなら、好きな指につけてくれればいい。
Shannon had only pretended not to know. She had already understood what he wanted her to do. But she was standing at a huge crossroads of her life.
もうこんな時間だね。今夜はこれくらいにしよ
う。George faced away from Shannon, seeming slightly uncomfortable.
君に左手につけてほしいと命令することもできるかもしれない。君も命令されればそれに従えるという臆病な甘えがあるかもしれない。でも最後のここだけは
There it is. Very nice.
サヨの意志でしてもらいたいんだ。
I personally approve of everything I've seen thus far. Everything has just been good vibes.
わかるね。
はい。
だからそれが命令。今夜よく考えて、明日その返事を見せてほしい。
Shannon nodded back. Today was the culmination of their long relationship. This moment had not come as any surprise to Shannon.
そろそろゲストハウスに戻ろうか。これ以上遅いとみんなを心配させちゃうよ。
すみません。私、お屋敷にいようを思い出しまして、お屋敷へ行かねばなりません。
こんな時間に
Didn't you have the shift in the guest house?
本当かな。
man. Okay. George stared into Shannon's face as he laughed mischievously. He had seen through that obvious lie of Shannon's, but imagining how she felt, it wasn't as if he couldn't understand her embarrassment and why she might ask to be alone. And so George, having understood Shannon's lie and all that was behind it, allowed her to leave. The long relationship part is something quite a few people take issues with. Right, so when this was unfolding in my mind, I was like, okay, she has been working for 10 years. She couldn't possibly have started working as a servant when she was a kid. So in my mind, I was imagining, okay, she started in her teens at the very, very earliest. So she should be in her early 20s too. But now that you give me this information, which I don't, if it has been disseminated thus far in the visual novel, I missed it. And I couldn't recall it just now when this other piece of information that they had been having something came up. Although it was hinted in the beginning that George had some sort of affinity for her, but it wasn't suggested that it was this far. I don't know what to say. To me, it just feels like, why did she even have to be written as having that early of an age? Because it would make sense for her to be a bit older too. And at the same time, I am getting flashbacks of a very similar topic that we had a while ago on another visual novel where there was an even bigger age discrepancy between two characters. But I personally loved their story. And I was just there for it. As long as, in my view, as long as, you know, it is culturally acceptable in the
confines of the Japanese society that they live in, as long as there's nothing illegal that had happened, as long as the characters themselves and those around them are okay with what is happening. I am not gonna take issue with the fictional story because of that, and I'm here because I want to enjoy myself with the story and to see the characters evolve and see what they're about and so on. So I personally don't want to get hung up on this. And if they have a nice, healthy relationship, which so far this conversation to me has indicated that it's okay, I am fine with rolling with that. So take it as you will. So I'm okay. Shannon entered the entrance hall to the mansion with a tottering gait. Her chest was filled almost to bursting point with a mixture of exultation and uncertainty that she couldn't easily describe. Yeah, I'll read it. After stopping for a second in front of the servant room to take a deep breath and calm her heart, she opened the door. Inside, Goda, who had been ordered to take the midnight shift at the mansion tonight, was absorbed in an old, worn-out crossword puzzle magazine. He looked up for an instant to see whether one of the family had come, but when he realized that it was a fellow servant, he returned to his puzzle as if nothing had happened.
源氏様より郷田さんのお手伝いにつくように言われてまいりました。
ああ、そうですか。それは助かります。そろそろ戸締まりの見回りに行きたかったのですが、ここを開けてもいいものか困っていたのです。何しろ、旦那様方の会合はまだだいぶ続きそうですからね。いつ何時お茶のご用命があるかもわかりませんし。
そうですよね。ではどうしましょうか。私が留守番を。
ではシャノンさん、申し訳ありませんが、お屋敷内の見回りをお願いします。
Make her do the work.
私はここで親族の皆さんのご用命の待機をしておりますので。
はい。
Shannon felt a twinge of annoyance. Despite the fact that she had come here to help out as a favor, she was being forced to do the job of the person actually on duty, as though it were natural. Furthermore, after one-sidedly forcing that task on her, Goda had once again gone back to his magazine and had become immersed in his crossword puzzle. For the time being, as a sign of respect for her elder, Shannon bowed her head and she left the room to make the rounds. Getting a little angry had enabled her to bring the airy sensation she had been feeling until now under control a bit. Besides, she couldn't show this kind of face to Genji and Kanon. Until her heart was able to calm down, she wanted a little time to herself, and maybe going around the mansion wasn't such a bad way to do that. From the dining hall, she began to hear the tumultuous voices of the family's discussion. Someone would speak at great length and would then be opposed by someone else. That rebuttal would continue in a very long, drawn-out fashion until opposed by yet another person. That kept on repeating. It was as though their displeasure was seeping out through their voices. She had been told to go to the guest house, so it would be bad if she was discovered by Kraus. Thinking that, Shannon quick-footedly slipped by the entrance to the dining hall. Then, inside the mansion controlled by darkness, she began to check that the house was all closed up following a prearranged route. She walked down the hall, checking that each window was closed. On Rokkenjima, there were no humans other than the family, so in actuality, closing up wasn't that terribly meaningful of a task. Until Natsuhi had scolded them that this attitude was careless, closing up had not been customary in the Ushiromiya family. The metal fixtures on the completely chilled windows were freezing, and every time she went to check on them one by one, it felt like the glow in her heart seemed to cool down. Ooh? Just then, she thought she saw something flickering across the hall. Flickering? Something like that shouldn't be visible beyond the darkness of the hall.
Although she thought it was probably her eyes playing tricks on her, she killed her breathing for a brief moment, and grasping a curtain, she fearfully gazed into the center of the hall. However, other than the occasional crack of thunder brightening the hallway, she was unable to glimpse any flicker again. It must have been her imagination after all. Maybe because she couldn't calm her heart, she saw something that didn't even exist. Shannon resumed checking the windows. However, in the back of her mind, a certain unnerving possibility had been resurrected. It was that which had been passed down amongst the servants who served the Ushiromiya main family, that ghost story, in which the mansion had different masters of the day and the night, in which the master of the night, Beatrice, would sometimes fly around the mansion in the form of sparkling butterflies. Come to think of it, hadn't Kanonkan said that he had once seen it for himself? He got sulky when I didn't believe him and told him he was just seeing things. Could it possibly... really? The roar of the thunder gave no answer. Alright. The mystery thickens. Oh no, it's okay, Chidori. I didn't interpret as you trying to start anything. Okay, the author is deliberate. Okay, well then let's just see where it goes. So far, I have nothing against it. I have not seen anything that actually feels to me like it's shady or anything. Okay. Yeah, I'm waiting for a moment to save. Tension. Oh god, I dislike him so much. Don't show his face to me. Jesus. Alright. The genuine mysteries will be hidden inside the people's hearts. Pay attention to that. Okay. I shall do my best. The second day. Oof. Oh man, this was all one day. That is true. Oh my god. Okay, finally. I will save here. Okay. Oh, wait, I closed the game, but now I don't really have a background. I didn't realize that. That's okay. Just skip a couple of minutes to say goodbye, good night. Thank you so much for joining me and for the very pleasant conversation. And yeah, don't worry about bringing anything up in chat. I'm fine with anything that you want to discuss, and I just wanted to share my view on that, particularly because we had a situation in the past. You, Chidori and Zekuto were not there. Bea, I'm pretty sure you remember, and other people who were there back then probably remember too. And yeah, it wasn't
pleasant, but I used it as like at that moment triggered a lot of inner conversations with myself, and the answer I kind of landed on without going into too much complex details that are unnecessary. The thing to say in this particular context of the novel is basically what I said earlier. So I am fine as long as there's no bad vibes coming from whatever the story will whatever direction the story between the two of them will take. So we'll take it as it is. Ah, he knows. Okay, well then, there you go. No, that's all right. I just wanted to, kind of give a bit more context of where I am coming from. So that's that. I enjoy your playthrough a lot. Oh, Zector. Oh, you're too kind. Thank you. I appreciate you being there. I also enjoy you being in my chat. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And don't worry, it's not about you changing my opinion. This is my opinion. This would have been my opinion still. So, it's fine. Best boy. All right. I can get behind that. You guys are very sweet. All of you. Thank you so much for the lovely times. I'm really enjoying myself with this novel, and I don't even notice the time go by. Like from time to time when I glance at the chat, I also look at the time, which is right underneath the chat the way I have it on the screen. I'm like, wait, it's already this time? I'm gonna finish in 20 minutes. I didn't realize. It's that kind of vibe, and it's been consistent from the very first stream of Umineko. So I'm really glad I'm doing this, and I'm glad that I have you here for the journey. So yeah. Good night for now, and I will see you again Thursday, and I promise that you will actually see me Thursday. Okay? These no cam streams might happen from time to time. Sometimes I just, I have these moments of like, I don't really feel like putting my face out into the world. I'm an introvert. Sometimes my reserves of energy and connecting with the world kind of get drained, and I need to recharge, and this is my way of recharging without canceling stream, but I will try to keep them few and far between. That is a promise. So see you for real, or like you see me on Thursday. All right, take care. Night and yeah, once again, I love and enjoy all of your presence. Bye.